Welcome to Gamblin Ramblin, a weekly show where we react and rant about the weekend in sports betting. Easy for me to say. I'm Tim Kalinowski. I'm joined by my very sick, ill, disgusting co-host, Charlie DiSturco. You can follow us both in the Action app, Action YouTube channel, and Action Network HQ on Twitter and TikTok. Charlie, I had to say it. There's a reason our show is a bit delayed today. Or yesterday.
That's a low blow right there. I literally could not move from my bed yesterday, and I tried to push through it. Could not record the show. That's why we're doing it Wednesday. I'm like finally getting over this. I will say I'm gonna circle back to this whole Tim likes being sick argument that he always talks about. This was the worst sickness. I was like calling out for anyone to save my life or like my life just to end. It was so painful. It was misery. It was almost like a bunch of these March Madness games. It was just sickening to watch, and I couldn't even lay down and enjoy my day. I was crying in pain the entire day.
There's a major asterisk on the sickness thing. The take is like a little cold, like that, like sore throat. Battling the stomach bug is a whole different animal. It's a whole different animal. I hadn't thrown up ever until I was 16. I had never thrown up, and the first time maybe as a baby, but I don't remember ever throwing up till I was 16. And I went and got, my buddy had just got his license. We went and got Chipotle, and it was when the whole thing was going on. And the next morning I got food poisoning. And my mom, I was like all carpeted rug. I was puking everywhere. And my mom was like, and I didn't know what to think. You know, I'm like, this is a literal death. And she's like, were you drinking last night? I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm actually sick. And then like, I had to like projectile puke in front of her for her to like start believing that I was actually sick.
Yeah. I mean, I shot 100 for 100 on my pukes. Like I went into the garbage or the toilet bowl every single time. So
nice job.
No, a little humble brag right there. But it was pretty intense. Like that was the first time that I've I've thrown up in like years, like not on purpose. Like if I was not like drinking too much, like, but if I was like just like out there and like I just was sick, I was like, this is the first time since I was like 13, I think. And I think I like that when I was 13, I like felt sick, got up out of my bed, and didn't even make it out the door before it all happened. But you know what? We survive in advance, just like a lot of these teams in March Madness. Look at that transition. How about that?
Yeah, well done. Well, Hutton did ask it here. He typed in, what's worse, being sick or losing an NHL bet in OT? He's looking for like losing a bet in overtime is like so painful. It's like being sick. No, I would lose 1,000 NHL overtime bets in a row if it assured that I would not get the stomach bug one time.
I would.
Stomach bug's that bad.
I would go for this entire next week, go 0 for 20 if it meant I could relive my last 2 days as a normal human. I said to you before the show, this is the worst sickness I've had in my entire life. Like worse than the flu when I had the flu and I did an episode with the flu like back in December. I could not get through this week's episode. We had to push it back a day because of the stomach bug.
I will say you look pretty good for a guy that had the stomach bug. You don't look terrible.
Yeah, well, usually it's like a 24-hour thing, right? Like it was like 8:30 in the morning yesterday was when it started. And then I woke up this morning at like 5 a.m. and that was my last wave of like sickness. Since then, we've been like tired, fatigued, and just trying to push through the workday.
Well, good for you. You know, you picked a good time to have it. You had it in between rounds. If you're going to be sick, that's the time to do it. So well done. Veteran immune system. What did we think about the first 2 rounds of games here? An exciting finish on Sunday night with that TCU backdoor. Oh boy.
I actually did not have TCU, which is like so unlike me to not join in on the Horned Frogs covering. But I was incredible of a backdoor cover. But it also was like one of those things that like reminded me of the Charleston San Diego State first round matchup where they called a foul with 0.7 seconds left to really just chalk the spread. They almost did the same exact thing there. They just shouldn't have called it. It was 0.7 seconds left on the clock when Gonzaga got fouled. So like in the first place, we should never be having this discussion. What I think was more interesting was I don't know about you, but I expected such better games Like even the upsets were not entertaining. Like Princeton upsetting Arizona was because Arizona scored like 1 point in the final 9 minutes or whatever it was. It wasn't because a team was going unconscious. The only cool one that we had was the second game of the day, and it was Furman against Virginia.
The Furman,
and that was one of the most incredible upsets that I've watched, just out of a pure stunning factor, right? Kiki Clark is a fifth-year senior. You have a timeout, and his first thought is to throw the ball to half court after being trapped. It was like there were so many different options that you could have had. You could have traveled, given the ball back. They still have to score a basket, and you're up too, so maybe they go inside. You still have that. You call a timeout, you re-inbound it, or you just like try and break the double team. I was so confused by the thought process there.
Forget all the options, because sure, guys make mistakes and we know that they have other like they could have done something else. Is there a guy you would trust more with the ball in his hands than someone who's played like 30 million games of college basketball?
While
like that,
under Tony Bennett.
Right.
Tony
you
Bennett.
know what I mean? Like that's to me the thing. It's like we second guess plays all the time. You couldn't have had the ball in a more trustworthy person's hands, and they did one of the most absurd like gag job things I've ever seen. The complete opposite of what you would expect. When I saw that ball go up in the air, and I was like, wait, was that Clark? I was like, was that him? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, when you look at the replay, you're just like, it was so odd because he like got doubled and immediately freaked out, and it was like he forgot they had a double team. I mean, he forgot he had a timeout. He gets double teamed and he just freaks out. I think he maybe didn't have a great sense of clock. But if you're gonna throw the ball, why would you not throw the ball like I don't know, off the player's legs or like into like near your rim? Because at the worst case scenario, you're the better team. Furman gets the ball, they tie it, not have a wide open 3 for the lead with 2 seconds left. It was almost like he thought there was 4 seconds left in the clock, and then and there's like, oh, by the time I throw the ball up and they catch it, they have 2 seconds to shoot from half court. Turns out there were 7.
Right. Well, and so, we don't want to burn the candle talking about a game from now that's like a week old. But I will say, thank God for gambling. Thank God for point spreads, because what you said is like, okay, we kind of felt like Thursday, that Furman game was the game. And thank God for gambling, because that made the rest of I don't know what people would do without gambling, because it made the rest of the weekend far more entertaining, and all the way down to that TCU game.
Right. If you look at every single game and you look at like the point difference and just like what happened, other than Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue, which we could talk about if we want really quickly, but every other game was not like amazing. Like there were moments or spurts where you were like, wow. But like a lot of these went, like Miami comes back to beat Drake. That's because they went on a 13-1 run over like 6 minutes. Like Drake just absolutely forgot how to score the basketball. Kennesaw State completely collapsed against Xavier after what was a great 35 minutes. But it's just like, we watch these games and they're just not that entertaining. But then, and the vice versa, you look at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They hit a buzzer beater to cover against Alabama.
Right.
You look at little things like that. The TCU game against Gonzaga, backdoor cover. Penn State against Texas in the round of 32. Seth Lundy gets fouled shooting a 3 and 1 4-point play. They cover the 5.5 point spread. It's things like that that make gambling and March Madness more entertaining now, especially considering the fact that there's just, whether it's upsets or not, it's just the level of play seems down. And I mean, it does make sense. The unders are hitting at an unbelievable rate. It makes sense that games haven't been great.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed because people just kept telling me, oh, it's not very top heavy this year. Like we're going to see a ton of upsets. I just felt like just a little underwhelmed. Like, come on. I picked a ton of upsets. It's like I came in here and I said, we did like, who do you have to win the national championship? I said UCLA. And then you and I talked about, Plumlee, what's his name?
Pember? He was horrible.
Pember, yeah. So you and I talked about Drew Pember. I talked myself into UCLA losing to Asheville, like not even close. I just kept
14-0 in the first 2 minutes.
I was like, oh, this is great. And I kept like, it was like, I was excited for Duke Oral Roberts. I'm like, okay, here's the 7-10 game, at night, like this primetime slot. Or no, I meant 7-10 as in the tip was at 7:10.
Oh, okay. I just making sure you know your brackets.
I do know my brackets. The 7-10 is in. It was. I'm like, I love the like dinner time.
Right.
7:00. Like I was excited. This is why Duke's playing at 7:00, and it was like underwhelming. So TCU, I mean, just just saves the weekend. We're just great talking point. I'm at my girlfriend's apartment, and it's like all their friends are watching these games. They're like, "Oh, Tim, do you want to turn on the games?" We're being very nice, very accommodating. And I don't usually do the whole jump up and down gambling thing. It's just kind of heroic. Like, who cares? Get it? We get it, kid. You gamble. But that when TCU fouled with 0.7 seconds left, I collapsed. I was laying on the ground. I just couldn't believe it. And they're all watching me like, "Oh my god, oh my god." And then when TCU comes down and hits that shot to cover, I didn't see it. I had been laying on the ground. And then I picked my head up and they're shaking hands and they hadn't updated the score yet. And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Tell me." So we had to rewind it. Like I still didn't believe it until like minutes after, because they had stopped showing the scoreboard.
I didn't either believe it. So funny enough, I was like with my girlfriend and I was like laying down and I was just like watching the game.
Shout out Barbara. Shout out Barbara. Ding ding ding.
Yeah, Barbara. Yeah, there's another
you
girlfriend.
And I both.
Yeah,
you and I both. Yeah,
both of us. Yeah,
back to back.
Marie,
ding ding ding.
Yeah, so Marie and I are like chilling at, and I give her the big TV. I have the small little handheld phone, watching Gonzaga TCU. And as soon as they foul 0.7 seconds left, I like exited off my phone, like went to like message. I messaged like Parker and DeBundo like in our low college hoops chat and go, "Wow, I can't like imagine what Stucky's gonna be tweeting out after that foul with 0.7 seconds left." And then all of a sudden, I get like a notification because I had live bet Gonzaga money line and I middled with 8.5 at TCU, and I like got notification that it was a 4-point game, and I was like, "There is no way." And so like my girlfriend Marie's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh my god, you don't understand. This is 0.7 seconds. I didn't believe it was a thing." Like. She's like, I'm like, "This is incredible." Like, you wouldn't expect, I was like thinking of all the possibilities of how they could have scored. Like, did he catch it in just one hand? I didn't realize that they rolled the ball up the half court. Like, my mind's going everywhere. I'm like, there's no way they could. I was like, all right, now I'm waiting for them to take off the 3-pointer because it didn't get off in time. And I just, watching the replay, it made me miss that I wasn't on that side.
I was so, because I only took it kind of, because I wanted to just have some action on that game. So it was just I was like, that's worth everything right there. I was like, that's worth the entire price of admission. Yeah. Right there. It was
thank
God,
God we've had some of those games, because it was like Drake, like you talk about the upsets, like Drake was supposed to beat Miami. They collapsed. Kent State didn't even put up a fight against Indiana. We were watching some of these games that like, these teams could upset. Like UC Santa Barbara, the second half was abysmal. It was Montana State just like never looked into it with Kansas State. Every upset that I thought was going to happen or even come close never came close. And the ones that did happen was like Fairleigh Dickinson somehow beating Purdue in what is the best upset that I've ever watched. And then Princeton, where Arizona just like handed them the game.
Oh yeah, it was I completely agree. It was kind of tough because we didn't get our classic. A lot of those, again, like you said, Kent State, Drake. We'll do a little Sweet 16 talk, but first we got to do an ad here from our lovely sponsor at a reminder that this episode of Gambling and Rambling is brought to you by Point Razors, the razors that gamblers trust. Visit their website, use code TIM for 10% off your first order of razors. Point Razors, the best kind of shave is a point shave.
Damn,
Charlie,
how come I don't get like one of those ad reads for myself? Like, you got code Tim. I need my code Charlie.
Well, I do an impeccable job at reading the ad. I'm really good at reading.
You stumbled on your first like line on that one. That's an impeccable job.
I didn't want to give away the sponsor yet. I wanted to kind of go in.
You want to leave the audience waiting. I get it.
Right. Yeah. I read the part that says like lift up your head. I read like the parentheses. That was the problem.
Lift up your head, and why don't you shave your neck with some point shaver?
Yeah, like when you read like when you're doing like Shakespeare in school, and it says like and then bow.
Yeah.
And, like, you're like and
look
bow.
up intensely to the screen. You're like,
yeah. That's a mistake I made. We are in the Sweet 16. How's the bracket looking for you? I mean, is it a nobody cares about your bracket? But I guess what else?
I'll briefly do it. I had Purdue in the finals, which is an idiotic decision of mine because I like got talked into playing contrarian. I have them losing to UConn and Texas and Creighton in my elite Final Four. So technically, 3 of my 4 Final Four teams are alive. I was gonna have Duke in the finals anyway, so it made me feel better seeing them lose to Tennessee. My bracket's still alive as long as UConn makes it out. But how about you?
Yeah. So my thing is, I've been pretty abysmal, but I'm the only person in this like group of 50 plus that has Texas to win it all. I'm the only person. So if Texas wins it, like that's, I'll be like the lowest scoring champion ever. It's, I had Kentucky going to the Final Four. That's what hurt me. And so at this point, I'm just Texas, Texas, Texas. And I got that from you. I rode so I got to give you credit. I rode your kind of bandwagon on Texas. You've been banging the drum for Texas. So go Longhorns. I tried. I'm such a clown too. I tried at this point in the Sweet 16 to like throw a future on them as well to make this even more exciting, but there's just no value. So I'm just going to continue to ride it out.
To be fair, I only got like 21-1 on them, and then they ballooned up after Beard got let go of the program. But I feel pretty good. I don't know how many futures you have left, but I got Creighton 70-1. They're probably making it to the Elite Eight. I got Texas 21-1. With Xavier, and then I have UConn 23-1. I think it's 23. Those are my three. I lost Indiana.
I only have Creighton left. I lost Indiana and I lost Kentucky.
Dude, Indiana, what a letdown against Miami. What the hell? Like Mike Woodson stinks, and Jalen Chafino looked like a freshman against the Miami veterans. Like Miami should have lost to Drake, and Indiana should have been in the Sweet 16. Instead, Drake scores 1 point in the final 5 minutes. Tucker DeVries goes like 1 of 10 from the field, and all of a sudden they can't miss from 3. Like Wooga Poplar is like, and Norchad Omir are making my life a miserable day. Oh, that was embarrassing.
What I'm excited for this weekend in gambling as well. Just keep the train going. What do we think of? I saw a lot of guys in the Action app. Some of our experts. A lot of people seem to be hopping on San Diego State that like checked off every box and like the action signals. San Diego State, Alabama. It's sitting at 7.5, I believe. What are your initial thoughts as one of our resident Action Network college basketball experts?
Yeah, I am looking on probably joining them. I'm hoping if I can get an 8 because the line did move up from 7 off the rip. I think the biggest thing is that, like, not to get too into just the analytics of everything, but San Diego State's defense is good forcing opponents off the 3-point line and have great 3-point defense. And then Alabama's entire offensive identity revolves around the run and gun 3-point shooting. So I think that given how well San Diego State has played as of late, like I was a little bit worried against Charleston, and then the way they just beat the living hell out of Furman made me feel pretty good about San Diego State as far as a defensive point of view. So I think it's a lot of points. I think they'll force a lot of turnovers. They like to slow the game down to the halt, which usually favors the underdog, right? Less possessions equals points are more valuable. So that and Florida Atlantic are the 2 games that I'm kind of eyeing right now. I haven't actually placed a bet yet, which is so unlike me. But both of those teams getting points as underdogs. San Diego State, and I think San Diego State's live. I think San Diego State and Florida Atlantic are live to beat Tennessee and Florida Atlantic, and then San Diego State Bama. Yep. I don't know what your thoughts are as far as your favorite pick, though.
I mean, dude, I was hitting these on Sunday night, and I'm a clown. Obviously hopped on San Diego State +7, 7.5, and now maybe 8 could be out there. So real good job, Tim.
I mean, to be fair, I thought that it was going to go down to 6. For what it's worth, I thought the line would work in San Diego State's favor, and it didn't, which was like pretty shocking to me. I think you just trust the veteran leadership of San Diego State and the defense, but
yeah. So I'm on that. I like Miami +7.5. I just can't stand Houston. I don't want Houston.
Yeah, neither can I.
I cannot stand Houston. I want nothing to do with Houston.
You know what's funny is Miami is like a public underdog. Like everybody's on them, which makes me feel a little bit. I'm staying away from that game. And then Michigan State, the fact that they've gone from like a favorite underdog to a favorite right away against Kansas State, and Kansas State somehow finds a way to keep winning, and I don't understand how they do it. I don't think they're that good. Like if they're a 2-man band, Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson. But what a great story they are. Like I'm not sure if you followed Kansas State at all this year, but like Jerome Tang's first year head coach comes in. This team is all transfers minus Marquise Noel, who I believe is 5'8", and so this short king is averaging like 8 or 9 assists a game. He's putting a good word out for your people, Tim. He's balling out there, hitting half-court threes. Yeah, and then Keontae Johnson and nearly dying on the basketball court for Florida against Florida State, and now he's back and he's, instead of taking the $5 million like NCAA insurance policy, he's playing ball.
Why didn't you lead with that instead of a short joke? I don't understand. You could have led with the incredible story of the guy having a heart attack, and you led with, Tim, you're short, so you should root for this other short guy.
No, I said that I said he's putting a good word out there for you. I went Marquise Noel first because Noel's the engine, and then Keontae Johnson's the main scorer. Both of them have great stories. You know, to be a 5'8" basketball player and pulling from like half court, making threes, and the way he attacked Oscar Tshiebwe was nuts. I don't know how that team wins. The fact that they're doing it without transfers and Jerome Tang's a first-year head coach, it's incredible. But I will say, this region, right? This is Madison Square Garden. We could have had Purdue, Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State, and instead Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, Michigan State, Kansas State. What a dud. Like, Michigan State probably gets fans a go, but if you want to talk about the least exciting region and the least exciting Sweet 16 you could have had for Madison Square Garden, I mean, ding, 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 this is it.
You're going to get Tennessee, I think will show out, but you're right. You are right. I mean, that's if they had a script, you would know they had a script if that was the teams in the Sweet 16. If it was all those blue bloods, because you're right. They major whiff having all those teams in the Mecca for this weekend. You're right. They screwed that up. They screwed the script writers. Fire them. Fire the NCAA.
Yeah, get rid of the. If you think the NCAA is rigged, look at that Sweet 16. Because at the very least, Fairleigh Dickinson would have made the Sweet 16 because it's a New Jersey crowd, and they would have made a 40-minute train ride up to Penn Station and walked right out into MSG. I mean, I couldn't have picked two of the most. Tennessee's so boring. Florida Atlantic's fun. Michigan State's like kind of boring too. They're like fine, and then Kansas State, they just make my life a living hell. So
I bet most people can't name a player on Michigan State. They just know Tom Izzo. Like that. I think that's kind of an indictment right there.
Yeah. They probably can't name anybody on any of those four teams. Like a casual fan, maybe Vescovy, because like Zakai Ziegler's hurt, so like their best player is hurt. Tennessee, like you would assume Michigan State maybe because they played Gonzaga in the beginning of the year, but like I mean these teams it's gross.
No, can I just? And I'm just gonna pile on a little bit. I don't mean to be an old man yells at a cloud, but the fact that last weekend so great. You get games at 12 o'clock, and then just game after game after game. And these games this weekend, tomorrow, okay? Oh, Thursday, March Madness. Oh, we get to do it all again, really? First game, 6:30. Second game, 7:15. Next game, 9. Game after that, the game of the night, UCLA Gonzaga, 9:45.
Can we talk about how that game is 9:45?
Will you fucking spare me?
How is that game 9:45? That's the two best teams. The best game of the entire night is at 10 o'clock when like half the world's going to bed. Like,
it's a school night. It's a school night.
And a work night.
What are we teaching in the NCAA? It's a school night.
Yeah, they want these high-class scholar Division I athletes. They go to school. They do school. And we have games at 7 to 9:45 or 6:40. Apologies. There's no way that this game should not have been earlier. There was no work being done last week. There's no work being done this week. There's no work being done next week. It's March. No one cares right now about work. They want to see March Madness.
The games should be at like 3:30. Like that should be the deal. I hate this 9:45 at night. Oh my god, I gotta stay.
They're trying to appeal to the West Coasters because UCLA Gonzaga are West Coast.
You know how tough it is when like you're getting ready for the 9:45 tip and then halftime comes. It's like, do I make another drink? Like it's 11:30 right now. Like what do I do? Like, you know, I want to just sit and enjoy the 9:45. Like, and I'm such a sucker. I'm gonna be locked. I'm gonna be dialed in every second.
So am I.
I'm gonna be. But like the contrast from last week to now, like I get they cut the field in half over and over again. But come on, we don't need to tip at 9:45 for the best game. I like us. I gotta convince my girlfriend that we gotta watch a 9:45 tip on Thursday and then another one on Friday. Come on.
Dude, I don't. You've been dating your girlfriend a lot longer than I have. But just on a ding ding ding, another girlfriend reference. My girlfriend, this is her first time dating a guy that's like as into sports as I am. Like her other boyfriend was like not a huge sports fan.
Yeah, he was like 40. He was like a 43.8% better. Like you're obviously,
yeah. He's not sharp as the kids say in the business. But I literally had to explain that I was like, oh, like she's like, I was off Thursday, Friday, March Madness, right? And I'm sitting, I get to the bar at 12 o'clock. I'm ready for West Virginia against Maryland. And I'm like, and I tell her, I'm like, I'm going to be here from 12 to probably 12, right? Because the game, they go, it's the last game, 11 o'clock. And then Friday comes. Yeah, I'm going to be at this bar from 12 to 12. And she's like, you can't come see me? I'm like, you could come see me. Like, this is my like 4-day vacation. The games, right. She's like, why can't you come at 10:30? I'm like, babe, there's games to be had. There's money to be won. Like, I need to watch these games. My bracket relies on this.
But it ties it all together in what I just said. The reason that you were so like you're a grown man at this point. You know that that Thursday, Friday only comes around once a year. Like now it's 1 week later and that's gone. It just disappeared in a thing.
Yeah, there's no 12 to 12. Now it's 6:40 to 11:45 or 12.
Right. That's the issue, right? That you can't just say, okay, now do you understand? We're going to do this again next week. Like now you understand. No, you gotta wait a year.
I know. And so thankfully she's coming to the March Madness watch party that we have in Hoboken nice. On Saturday for the Elite Eight. So at least for like that day, you know, she'll be there watching the sports and not, I won't have to be like explaining to her while I'm at a bar for 7 hours because she'll be there too. I invited all her friends. If anyone's listening and hasn't RSVP'd already, other than, you know, the only people that are probably still watching us right now are our moms and dads, but
no, it's been a good pace show. It's been a good pace show. I think we've been doing a good job. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, then, you know, if you're still around, you know, March Madness watch party, Mad Hatter, I'll be there. Open bar. So that's why I'm there.
I mean, that's about as good as it gets. Let's do this. Help me out here. All right. Quick. We're going speed round.
All right.
Does UConn fend off Arkansas?
Yes.
Does Tennessee fend off FAU?
I don't think so. I think Florida Atlantic's live.
Michigan State, Kansas State.
Lean Kansas State. I think it's too much love for Michigan State.
Gonzaga, UCLA.
I'm going with my heart, Gonzaga.
Alabama, San Diego State.
I mean, Bama's going to win. San Diego State probably covers.
Houston, Miami.
Sorry, Tim. I think Houston's going to roll.
I didn't hear you. Sorry. Creighton, Princeton.
I said, sorry, Tim. Houston's going to roll. Go ahead. Pick up again.
Creighton, Princeton.
Creighton's going to absolutely dominate Princeton.
Texas, Xavier.
Hook 'em.
Is Texas going to the Final Four?
Dude, I think so. You can't look at how Texas has played over the last month of the season and not tell me that they're a top 3 team in college basketball. And Houston has looked so beatable. Like Auburn, they looked horrible against Auburn. If it wasn't for like the last 10 minutes, I think that last 10 minutes was a complete 180 and Auburn just couldn't make a free throw. I think Texas wins.
I'm so down.
It's just a matter of them on the glass. The offensive glass is where it's going to be a lot of problems.
I will follow you. Just you show me the way. You show me the way. Any last thing before we hit the road here? Any bold prediction? Anything that you're looking forward to this weekend?
Creighton upsets Alabama, goes to the Final Four.
Oh, that'd be so great for our futures. That'd be so great. Go Blue Jays. At this point, I just have kind of hope. You know, I have hope. Like there's things that I think are going to happen and things that I hope happen.
Yeah, I know $1 and a dream, Tim.
Right.
$1 and a dream.
It's going to be an awesome weekend. I can't wait to, like I said, it's not quite doing it all over again. I'm be up past my bedtime a little bit, but this is a tremendous time of year where we're still on the betting the pucks as well. And that's been quite the grind every single night. So I'm looking forward to this weekend and I hope you guys have a good time in Hoboken.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for one more weekend of hoops for, you know, the entire night, but you know, it's getting down to the wire here. So you got to enjoy every second of it.
Gamblin Ramblin is a Hook'em show. They're a Hook'em YouTube show. Shout out to our producer Hutton. He's the best. Charlie, great job battling. You made it out puke free. Be sure to follow Charlie in the Action app at Charlie DiSturco, and follow me in the Action app, T Kalinowski 12. I was on a bit of a heat piece. I was on a bit of a heater. And follow
Don't tell everyone.
Yeah, follow us both on Twitter. You know where to find us. Thank you for tuning in to Gamblin Ramblin. Good luck with your bets this weekend. Sweet 16, Elite 8. Have a little fun with it.